Sige. Sige. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another live streaming of tax training. No? Thank you very much po sa ating mga subscriber. Umabot na tayo ng 8,910 subscribers. No? So, thank you very much. And sa mga YouTubers natin ngayon, sa mga viewers. May viewers na ba? Okay, so shout out po sa mga viewers natin. May shout out na? Sige.
Shout out po ma'am kay Ma'am Lilian Yao. Good evening daw po.
So, good evening po, Ma'am Lilian Yao, and thank you for watching.
Apo. Shout out din po ma'am kay Ma'am Mary Jane Onal.
Okay, so shout out, Ma'am Mary Jane Onal. Thank you very much.
Apo. Sabi po ma'am ni Ma'am Evelyn Calixto.
Okay, so shout out, Ma'am Evelyn Calixto.
Apo. Sabi niya po ma'am, thank you ma'am sa mga BIR topics. I am now more confident doing all the entries in the 6 journal books. Sad to say, ang dami kong open cases.
Oh, so hindi bali. At least hindi na madagdagan, no? At least naumpisan mo na ng maayos. Naayos na. So naumpisan mo na, hindi na madagdagan yung open case mo. Okay. Sige.
Yun na pala ma'am, wala na po.
Okay. So we'll continue with our topic, no? And it's holidays na, no? So at saka malapit nang mag-end yung 2020 and let's welcome 2021, no? Sana nandyan pa rin naman yung mga hardship na yan, hindi naman yan nawawala, no? Pero sana yung response natin doon sa mga yun yung i-improve natin, no? Hindi naman talaga mawawala yung mga difficulties sa buhay natin eh. So ano yung dapat natin baguhin? Yung sarili natin, that we will be responsive at saka more alert tayo on how to respond to this. Kagaya nung nangyari sa atin ng pandemic. Ano ba yung ginawa natin doon sa pandemic? Nagpanic na lang tayo. Siyempre nag-iisip at saka kung ano yung dapat at saka pwedeng gawin, no? So yun yung dapat natin na at saka flexible tayo. Kung ano yung mga hindi na pwede din, hindi na natin ipilit yung hindi pwede. Doon na tayo sa pwede, no? So kung yung pwede, mahirap, hindi natin alam, din aralin natin para naman we will thrive na makasurvive tayo sa kung ano man yung sitwasyon na nasa harap natin. Okay. At yung sinasabi natin ng mga pagbabago na yan, kasama din yung mga compliance natin sa tax dyan. No? The more na nagkakaroon tayo ng kita, the more din tayo na nagkakaroon ng maraming compliance at maraming tax na yung pinapabayad sa atin. No? So kasama talaga yan. We cannot do away with the payment of taxes. Kaya ang tax training natin is for better tax compliance. Kasi hindi natin maiwasan yung tax. Kaya ayusin natin yung ating compliance. No? Kasi kung evade tayo ng evade, ayaw natin tanggapin na mayroong responsibility tayo. Tayo din mahirapan. Bakit? Kasi ang darating sa atin, puro penalties. No? So anong gagawin natin? Then we know kung ano yung mga dapat i-comply. And then i-comply natin para bawas sa penalties. No? Kasi minsan lumalaki yung tax payment dahil sa penalties. No? Pero kung walang penalties yan, maliit lang yung babayaran natin. Okay. So wala pang mga questions?
Wala pa pong question.
Okay. So we'll continue with yung mga violations ng mga revenue officers, no? Yung mga offenses ng mga tax officers natin, no? So yun yung na-discuss na natin last time and we will continue with section 270 ngayon. Ano yung section 270? Ito yung unlawful divulgence of trade secrets. Bakit? Lahat po ng mga data, information na pumapasok sa BIR, confidential po yan. Oh? Hindi yan kagaya ng is-easy, na yung is-easy doon is public records, no? Sa BIR, hindi pwede. Sino lang yung pwedeng maka-access doon sa mga, halimbawa, sarili mong income tax return, no? Sino yung pwedeng mag-access doon? Kayo lang. Lalo na ngayon may Data Privacy Act tayo. Kaya ang lahat ng mga pinafile natin, pumapasok sa record ng BIR, confidential yan. Pagdating sa is-easy, public records na yan. So, kahit sino pwedeng kumuha doon. Pero sa corporations lang yon. Pagdating sa individual, hindi yan nakakarating ng is-easy, kaya confidential yan. So, pag halimbawa, may gustong kumuha ng ITR mo na hindi ikaw, magkaroon muna sila ng authorization bago sila bibigyan. Pagka wala silang authorization ng concern na taxpayer, hindi po sila bibigyan ng BIR. At saka, kailangan din kung walang authorization, may court order, no? Without that, hindi sila talaga bibigyan, no? Kaya ito, in relation with the confidentiality ng mga records ng BIR, itong Section 270. Why? Kasi ipapunish mo o magkakaroon ng penalty yung isang revenue officer na nandun sa kanya yung information and then i-divulge niya, no? Pagsasabi niya, i-share niya sa iba. Bakit? Kasi bawal yun. So, Section 270, unlawful divulgence of trade secrets. So, anong sabi dito? Except as provided in Section 6F and 71 of this Code and Section 26 of Republic Act Number 6388, any officer or employee of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, ito na yung mga employee ng BIR, who divulges to any person or makes known in any other manner than may be provided by law information regarding the business, income, or estate of any taxpayer, the secrets, operation, style, or work, or apparatus of any manufacturer or producer, or confidential information regarding the business of any taxpayer. Yan. O, nakasama na dito yung confidential information, ha? Excuse me. Regarding the business of any taxpayer, knowledge of which was acquired by him in the discharge of his official duties, shall, upon conviction for its act or omission, be punished by a fine of not less than 50,000 pesos, but not more than 100,000 pesos, or suffer imprisonment of not less than 2 years, but not more than 5 years or both. Yan. Kaya yung minsan na lumabas kami because mag-i-evaluate ng accounting system, no? So, mandatory na po ngayon, matagal na mandatory sa large taxpayer ang computerized accounting system. So, minsan, nag-evaluate kami, nasa BIR pa ako. No? Yung hindi ka papasukin sa premises ng taxpayer kung hindi ka muna pipirma ng waiver of non-disclosure of information. No? So, yung mga kasama ko, ayaw pumirma. Bakit sila magpapapirma pa niyan? I-authorize naman tayo kasi government officer tayo. Sabi ko, pirma tayo. Bakit? Bakit hindi kayo pipirma? From the nature of our work. Confidential. No? So, kung pipirma ka doon sa ni-require nila, hindi yun violations doon sa trabaho mo. In fact, yun talaga ang trabaho mo. Hindi na kailangan, redundant na nga yung nagpapapirma pa sila. Bakit? Kasi confidential talaga yung ating trabaho. At once, ginamit mo yung information o kaya nilabas mo yung information ng taxpayer, then you are liable. At ito nga, itong Section 270, isa ito. Kung ano yung mga confidential information ng business ng taxpayer ay pinaalam mo sa iba, you are liable. No? Kasi, because in the course of your work as a government official, nalaman mo ngayon itong mga confidential information, then hanggang doon lang yan sa iyo. Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-share sa iba. No? At more so, i-publish mo pa. Okay. Hari, nasara na yung mga pinto? Okay. So, any officer or employee of the BAR who divulges or makes known in any other manner na yan na ipinaalam, nilabas yung information. In relation with the confidentiality ng any other manner to any person other than the requesting foreign tax authority information obtained from banks and financial institutions pursuant to Section 6F, knowledge or information acquired by him in the discharge of his official duties. So ito na yon. In the course of your work, meron kang access dun sa information na yon. No? Hindi mo yan pwede na ibigay sa iba. Shall upon conviction be punished by a fine of not less than 50,000 pesos, but not more than 100,000 pesos, or suffer imprisonment of not less than 2 years, but not more than 5 years, or both. No? So, depende yan. Itong sinasabi dito na not less than 2 years, but not more than 5 years, or both, yung korte na ang magdi-decide nito kasi hindi ka ipapanis without conviction sa court, no? So ano itong not less than 2 years but not more than 5 years? Ano yan? Yan ang magiging judgment ng court sa iyo depending on the degree of the crime you have committed. Kaya kung sobra-sobra, halimbawa, damage talaga yung tao, so dito ka sa 5 years na pinakamahaba. Pero kung hindi naman masyado, so dito ka sa 2 years. Kung moderate, dito ka sa 3 years. No? So depende na yan sa degree ng crime that you have committed. So yan po yung not less than 2 years but not more than 5 years. Saan ba dyan? Saan ka ba dyan? No? Depending on the degree of the crime or violations that you committed. Patayin mo na yung si diretso sa mata ko masakit. Tsaka daming alikabok. Daming alikabok. Nakakapuwing sa mata. No? So Section 271 na po tayo, unlawful interest of revenue law enforcers in business. Yan. Ito namang law enforcers, meron silang interest sa business, no? Section 271. Any internal revenue officer who is or shall become interested directly or indirectly in the manufacture, sale, or importation of any article subject to excise tax under Title 6 of this code, or in the manufacture or repair or sale of any die for printing or making of stamps or labels, such shall upon conviction for its act or omission be punished by a fine of not less than 5,000 but not more than 10,000 pesos, or suffer imprisonment of not less than 2 years and 1 day but not more than 4 years, or both. No? So ano naman ang ginawa niya dito? Interest sa business. No? Okay. And then related siya sa manufacture or repair or sale of any die for printing. Ito yung mga ginagamit sa manufacturing, no? Or making of stamps or labels. Ito yung mga related sa pag-manufacture ng mga goods, no? So magkano siya? 5,000 but not more than 10,000. 2 years but not for more than 4 years. So yan po yung penalties. Okay, ito naman sa withholding. Section 272, violation of withholding tax provision. Every officer or employee of the government of the Republic of the Philippines or any of its agencies and instrumentalities, its political subdivisions, as well as government-owned or controlled corporations, including the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP, who under the provisions of this code or rules and regulations promulgated thereunder is charged with the duty to deduct and withhold any internal revenue tax and to remit the same in accordance with the provisions of this code and other laws is guilty of any offense herein below specified shall, upon conviction for its act or omission, be punished by a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos but not more than 50,000 pesos, or suffer imprisonment of not less than 6 months and 1 day but not more than 2 years, or both. No? So yan naman ang penalties. Related naman yan sa withholding tax provisions. No? So mga government-owned uncontrolled corporations, kasama din dito sa Section 272. Sino to? In charge to deduct withholding, no? Sa at i-remit sa BIR, no? Tapos hindi niya i-remit. So ano 'yon? Guilty siya of the crime under Section 272. So, sino yung in charge dyan? Yung ma-penalize? No? The officer of the employee. So, hindi yung gobyerno. Kasi ang gobyerno hindi pwedeng magkamali yan. So, sino pwedeng magkamali? Yung in charge. Kaya sino yung mape-penalty? Yung in charge, no? The officer or employee in charge of withholding. Paano niya ginawa yun? A, failing or causing the failure to deduct and withhold any internal revenue tax under any of the withholding tax laws and implementing rules and regulations. Letter B, failing or causing the failure to remit taxes deducted and withheld within the time prescribed by law and implementing rules and regulations. And letter C, failing or causing the failure to file return or statement within the time prescribed, or rendering or furnishing a false or fraudulent return or statement required under the withholding tax laws and rules and regulations. So yun, hindi nag-file ng return, hindi nag-remit ng taxes, hindi nag-deduct at nag-withheld ng withholding tax. So saan siya punishable? Under Section 272. And what is the penalty? Fine of 5,000 but not more than 50,000, and also imprisonment not less than 6 months but not more than 2 years. Okay. Ito naman sa Section 273, no? Penalty for failure to issue and execute warrant. So ano yung warrant? Yun yung sa distraint or levy. Ito yung halimbawa under investigation ka ng BIR, no? In-examine yung books of accounts mo, tiningnan na lahat. Ngayon nakita may discrepancy ka, may kulang yung binayad mo ng tax, i-assess ka ngayon ng examiner. No? Padalhan ka ng notice of discrepancy, tapos preliminary assessment notice, tapos final assessment notice. Hindi mo lahat yan halimbawa nabayaran, pupunta yan sa collection division, no? So doon, i-refer yan sa seizure agent or sa collection officer. Pagkatapos niyan, yung collection officer, magpapa-issue yan siya ng warrant of distraint or levy kasi hindi talaga makabayad ang taxpayer. So kung may mga assets siya, i-lien or kuhanin, i-seize or i-distraint yun. Kaya may warrant of distraint. I-garnish yung kanyang mga pera sa bangko, no? Yung mga properties niya, i-lien yung kanyang mga sasakyan at saka yung mga title sa property niya, no? So halimbawa, meron ng warrant of distraint or levy assigned to an official. Okay, so ano 'yun? Ano sabi dito sa Section 273? Penalty for failure to issue and execute warrant. Okay. So any official who fails to issue or execute the warrant of distraint or levy within 30 days after the expiration of the time prescribed in Section 207, or who is found guilty of abusing the exercise thereof by competent authority shall be automatically dismissed from the service after due notice and hearing. No? So wala nang sinasabi dito na fine. Wala nang sinasabi dito na imprisonment. Ano na lang dito? Dismissal, no? Automatically dismissed from the service. Pag dismissal ka dahil may nagawa ka na kasalanan, halimbawa, kagaya nito, may mga violations ka, so na-dismiss ka, forfeited lahat ng benefits mo. Wala kang matatanggap, no? Sa gobyerno. And then, barred ka pa to apply for another position sa gobyerno. No? So, yun yung penalty. No? Dismissal from the service. Kasi bakit? Hindi mo in-issue at saka hindi mo in-execute yung warrant para i-distrain na yung mga properties ng taxpayer na maraming pagkakautang sa bank, sa BIR. May ano na tayo? May question?
Meron po, ma'am.
O, sige. Bago tayo pumunta sa other penal provisions, no? Okay. Chapter 4. Answer muna tayo ng questions kung meron. Sige.
Ito, ma'am, ang nagtanong po ay si Giles Ron Baris.
Baris?
Baris.
Okay, so shout out. Ano yan? Anong pangalan niya?
Giles.
Giles?
Giles Ron.
Giles Ron. Sige.
Baris.
Shout out po sa iyo. Sige, anong
Ang
question?
tanong niya po is, can we apply for the general tax amnesty?
General tax amnesty? Ayun yung sabi mong BAP, yung Voluntary Assessment Payment and Program of the BIR. Pwede po. Ano yun? Yung 2018, di ba? Pwede kayong mag-apply at may rate naman dyan sa kung ano at magkano yung babayaran. Voluntary assessment yan, program ng BIR. Kasi yung isang amnesty natin na na-extend siya, yung sa delinquency, yun yung mga may delinquent accounts lang yun. No? And then may isang amnesty pa para sa estate tax. No? So, yun, pwede pa rin yun hanggang ngayon. Pero yung sinasabi mo na general amnesty mo, yan yung equivalent nung voluntary assessment program. Kasi bakit? Lahat ng taxes pwede mong i-avail. No? May condone yung mga penalties. Kahit capital gains, no, na nangyari noong 2018, pwede mo i-avail doon at wala kang babayaran na penalty, basic tax lang. Okay?
Ang next po, ma'am, na nagtanong is si Ma'am Marilyn Seredon.
Okay si Ma'am Marilyn ha. Hindi ko pa, hari ha, hindi pa natin nakita yung, ang dami namin hinahanap actually. Yung ano nung tax advisors group, yung SEC at saka yung sabang sa SEC registration, nandun yung number eh. Hanapin natin yan. Kasi ang ano namin, ipakita mo yung mga kalat natin. Pwede naman yan eh, sa camera eh. Pakita mo oh. I-ganon mo lang. Wag, ano mo lang ganon oh. Ito lang, hawakan mo yung ilalim. Yan. Kung talaga, ma-disconnect talaga yan kung dyan. Oo, yan. Pakita mo yung mga papel natin. Ikaw yung makikita dyan. Ayun. Kasi naghakot kami at hindi pa nakalagay lahat. Yung iba nandun na sa bundok. No? Kaya puro pakalat yung aming papel. Ayun pa oh. Ayun oh. Yan. Kita ba? Taas yata eh, yung baba. Sige lang. At least, sige na, balik mo na. Kaya, sa dalawa na lang kami ni Harry dito, wala nang iba. kaya ang ano namin, limited, no? Nandiyan, nakikita dyan? O nawala ka? Hindi, pero okay yung connection.
Okay naman.
Sige. So anong question ni Mama Marilyn?
Ang question niya po is, how to verify letter of penalties and letter of authority legitly comes from BIR?
Puntahan nyo talaga, hanapin nyo yung examiner. No? Without that, hindi mo malaman. Kasi minsan, magaling din yung gumagawa ng mga letter authority. Looks like original din sila. Pero ang pinaka-importante dyan, sa letter of authority mo, nakalagay dyan yung kung sino yung revenue officers nyo na pupuntahan. So, wag na wag kayong magbayad o makipag-usap kung hindi yan taga BIR mismo. No? Kasi it might be na lalagyan din niya doon ng revenue officer tapos siya pala yun. Fake pala siya. Hindi mo ngayon malalaman. So, anong gagawin mo? I-receive mo lang yung notice tapos puntahan mo sa BIR. No? Wag na wag kayo nakipag-ayos. No? May nangyayari yung ganyan. May mga experiences na akong ganyan sa Bacolod na pagdating pa lang ng tao, inayos na nila kaagad, nagbigay sila ng pera. Wala. Fake yun. No? Kasi yung totoong BIR, doon mo yan, kung mayroon ka mang mga penalty, doon mo yan pupuntahan sa opisina at saka kung may penalties yan, gagawa ka ng form, papermahan yan doon at saka mo bayan sa bangko. Pero yung ibigay mo yung pera sa kanila, sasabihin nila sila yung magbabayad, fake po yan. Sige.
Ang next po ma'am na nagtanong si Ma'am Lilian Yao po.
Okay.
Ma'am, ano po ang mas magandang gawin? I-close ang existing company at mag-open ng bago? O mag-change ng ownership ng company?
Bakit? Bakit kailangan?
Kasi po balak po sana ng owner na ilipat ang business niya sa anak.
Ilipat ang business sa anak.
Ano daw pong maganda, i-close ang existing at mag-open ng bago? O mag-change ng ownership ng company?
Ano ba yun? Corporation o single proprietor?
Company mo?
Company. So, wala po kayo. Pagka corporation po, wala kayong babaguhin. Shares of stocks lang i-change, ano nyo. Sa shares of stocks lang ang i-transfer mo sa kanya. Pero yung business mismo, existing yan as is yan. Kaya marami ang gumagamit ng corporation kasi magpalit-palit man yan, magbago man yan ng owners, hindi affected ang corporation. Saan ka lang magbabago? Doon lang sa shares of stocks. Doon yun yung bintahan. Yun yung transfer ng ownership by means of shares of stocks. Halimbawa, majority ng shares of stocks owned by the father. So gusto niya sa kanya na sa anak niya. Yung shares of stocks ngayon ng father, ibenta niya or i-donate niya. Kasi ngayon ang bintahan at saka donation, di ba? Halos pareho na lang, no? So, anong gagawin mo? Hindi naman nakikita yung kalat. Mga bintana yung nakita ari. Sige lang. Kasi nasasahig namin yung nasasahig namin yung mga papel. Yan, yung iba nakikita. Pero yung nakikita, ding-ding lang. Nakasum. Sige. Anyway, hanapin pa po namin ni Harry, no? Okay. So, yun po yung the best na gagawin ninyo. I-transfer nyo lang yung shares of stocks kasi company yan. Pero kung single proprietor yan, no choice kayo. Mas madali na magpa-register na kayo ng business ng anak, no? Sa pangalan ng anak. Or, pwede rin naman na i-transfer niyo, mag-affidavit kayo ng deed of assignment ba yan? No? Deed of sale. Para malipat na sa kanya. So, ano yung ipapalipat niyo naman kung single proprietor? Yung DTI, yung mayor's permit, yung BIR, lipat nyo yan lahat. So, pero hindi yan kasi nalilipat Sa BIR, i-stop mo yung sa father, tapos pa-register ka talaga ng bago para sa anak. No? Hindi naman yan na sasabihin na, siguro, ito ilipat na, tapos continue na yung business. Hindi, i-stop talaga yung sa father, and then mag-register ng bago yung anak. Pero kung corporation, walang hassle. Bakit? Ang i-transfer lang ng father sa anak, yung shares of stocks na siya yung may-ari, ilipat na lang sa anak. Okay? Meron pa?
Wala na po ma'am. Ano lang po ma'am, shout out lang po.
Sige, shout out.
Good evening daw po ma'am, sabi ni Ma'am Ami Oclarit.
Si Ma'am Ami, always talaga yan. So, shout out kay Ma'am Ami. And good evening po. Thank you for watching.
Good evening din daw po ma'am, sabi ni Ma'am Bernadette Lonon.
Okay, yung mga suki natin yan, no? So, good evening din po and shout out to you, Miss Bernadette. Saka sa lahat, no? Happy holidays na lang kasi saka malapit na ang New Year, no? Just be thankful kahit wala tayong handa, kahit ano. Para sa akin, wala yan eh. Ang importante, we say thank you. Kasi ang Thanksgiving naman talaga, papasalamat tayo eh. So, not the material thing. Pero yung heart natin na full talaga ng gratitude na nakaraos tayo in spite of the many problems that we have. Para sa akin, that is so much of a blessing na. Huwag tayong kain ng kain na marami sa sa New Year, sa Pasko, no? Kain na lang tayo maraming fruits kasi hindi healthy. Okay.
Shoutout din po ma'am kay Sir MJ Logar.
Okay, so shout out Sir MJ Loga. Good evening din po.
Tapos ma'am, may tanong na po si Ma'am Bernadette Lonon.
Okay.
Ma'am, tanong lang ako sa books of accounts sa VAT taxpayer. Wala kasing stock sa subsidiary. Anong books na gagamitin? Ang nandoon lang 3 column, 10 column journal.
10 column. Pwede na rin sa subsidiary books. Ano yun? Cash receipt, cash disbursement. So kung wala na talagang stocks, pwede na yung 10. Pero sa 10 na yan, depende yan, magdalawang pages ka. No? Kasi doon sa 14, halimbawa puno yun, may mga 14 classification ka ng account. Yung 10 lang, di kulang, mag second page ka na doon sa ibang account. No? Pero kung pwede na rin yung 10. No? Pwede na rin yung 10 columns. Or maghanap ka talaga doon sa 14 columns mo.
Wala pa daw siyang experience sa VAT kung paano.
Kung yung VAT na subsidiary sales book mo, subsidiary purchase book mo, pwede na yung 10 columns. Kasi nandoon na yung amount. Kunin mo nga yung book ng subsidiary sales at saka subsidiary purchase. Ando no? Kunin mo. Ayun no? Nandiyan. Kasi pakita natin sa kanya. Sales book. Sige. Ano mo lang dyan? Yan. Yan na muna. Isa. Subsidiary. Yan o. Subsidiary yan, di ba? Ito talaga. Ito yung sample natin sa subsidiary purchase. Pero yung sales wala dyan eh. Sige. Pero sa itong purchase, halos parehas din lang naman sila. Kakaiba lang doon sa name and address ng supplier, sa sales name and address of customer, no? So, ito. Ano mo doon? Makita naman niya ito, no? No? So, nandiyan nakalagay yung name, yung date, tapos nakalagay yung name and address of supplier, nakalagay yung invoice number, tapos yung VAT, TIN number niya, tapos nandyan yung purchases ng goods local, purchases ng goods non-VAT purchases, tapos nakalagay yung VAT input, total invoice amount, the name of the account, and then the general ledger, debit or credit, and then the cash, and then the account, no? So, ilang ilang column? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 column siya. So, bitin yung 10 mo. No? Pero kung bitin yan, pwede mo namang tanggalin na itong terms na cash or account. Kasi terms yan, pwede mo nang tanggalin yan. Ibig sabihin, alam mo naman yan kung utang o cash, no? So, tanggalin mo na yung nasa dulo. Kung i-chat mo siya, Hari, mag-email siya kasi email natin sa kanya itong format. So, email mo sa kanya itong format. Nandyan yung date, name, and address of so, kung 10 columns lang yan, alisin mo na yung pinakadulo na terms. Kasi pwede namang wala yan yung cash at saka account. Kunin mo to. I-email mo to sa kanya. Sa atin. Kasi pagdating naman sa sales, halos ganyan din. Pero instead of name of supplier, ang ilagay mo dyan, name of customer. At saka ang ilalagay mo dyan, yung sales invoice mo, kasi sales eh. Yan kasi, sample na yan is purchases. Meron pa?
Meron pa, ma'am. Sabi
Sige.
niya po, ma'am, ang business daw ng may-ari ay Bridge Engineering Services.
Ay, oo.
Engineer daw ang may-ari.
Batable talaga yan, no? Kasi construction yan eh. So, ganyan ang, ganyan yung mga heading ng libro at saka mga information na i-post mo dapat, no? Sige, i-email po ni Harry sa inyo para may idea kayo.
Ang tao sabi ni Ma'am Lilian Yao, single proprietor daw po pala yung kanina.
Kung single proprietor, kailangan po kayo magpa-register ng bago. Kasi sa BIR, bago talaga. Hindi pwede yung ituloy na lang, no? Kasi transfer na yan eh. So, pa-register po kayo ng bago. Tapos, kahit sa City Hall, di ba, kukuha din kayo ng bagong permit. Tapos sa BAR, pa-register din kayo ng bago. Pero, i-close nyo yung sa father kasi mag-clearance yun. No? Bago i-close yung sa father, i-clear pa yun. Saka may mga investigation pa yun na isa subject. Yung kagaya ng may inventory siya, so i-transfer niya yung inventory. May dim sale yun. No? So, ganun na po yung gagawin ninyo. Kasi, yung sabi na mag-change of name lang, hindi po ganun. May mga tax implications yan. Kahit na mag-change of name yan, so sa pag-change of name niya, i-clear mo yung father, no? I-subject yan sa investigation, i-assess yan kung may mga kulang. And then, yung transfer niya ng mga inventory, magiging dim sale pa yan. Pagdating sa anak, i-account niya yung inventory, and then yung tatay naman, parang ibenta niya, i-dispose niya yung sales sa anak, no? So may dim sale naman siya na transactions na i-recognize. Okay. Hindi yan automatic na pag sinabi mong i-transfer, palitan na yung pangalan, hindi po ganun. May mga investigations pa po yan na i-undergo.
Tapos, sabi niya, ma'am, isa pa daw po kung paano daw po mag-change ng business type from retail to wholesale.
Ang gagawin po ninyo, isurrender ninyo yung COR nyo, yung Certificate of Registration sa BIR. Anong gagawin nyo? Gagawa kayo ng BIR Form 1905, no, nakalagay doon na mag-change ka ng activities. Ilagay mo doon sa kung anong column na nandun sa BIR Form 1905. And then isurrender mo yung COR na original kasi papalitan nila yon, kakancel nila. Bibigyan ka ng bago na iba na yung activities, no? Para sa libro at saka resibo as is lang kasi yung merchandising at saka yung yung wholesaling parehas lang naman yan, no? Hindi magbabago yung resibo mo, same pa rin. So anong gagawin natin? Anong gagawin pagka magpa-change ka? So yung COR na original, ibigay mo yan o ibalik mo sa BR kasi ika-cancel nila yan. Papalitan ng bago. Okay?
May question pa po, madam, galing kay Sir MJ Logar.
Okay.
Pwede po ba parent sa anak ko ang real property na gamit niya sa business? If pwede, subject po ba sa VAT at withholding?
Yes, pwede po. Kasi hindi siya yung may-ari eh. So bakit mo iparent sa kanya? Para makaklaim siya ng expense for the rental expense. So ikaw naman na nagpaparent, depende yan. Kung abot ng 3 million yung rent for 1 year, then magiging batable ka. Pero kung hindi, 3% lang na percentage tax yung babayaran mo. Yung below 3 million na rental income mo during the year, no? Pero pwede mo siyang parenta sa anak mo dahil nagbi-business. So gagawa kayo ng kontrata, ng lease contract, and then yung expense doon, pwede na niyang i-claim, mag-i-issue ka din ng resibo sa kanya for the amount of rental na ibabayad niya sa'yo monthly. Kasi yun yung mga standard operating procedure para maklaim mo yung rental expense, no, sa business. Ito namang may-ari ng building, kung ikaw yon, so obliged ka naman na ipa-register mo yung business mo as lessor, and then meron kang resibo, meron kang libro, and then pagka meron ka ng business permit na yan, gagawa ka talaga ng lease contract, no? So kahit anak mo pa yan, may lease contract kayo, and then every time magbabayad siya, mag-issue ka ng official receipt. Okay?
May karoto pa yun, ma'am eh. Sabi niya, ma'am, parehas po kami VAT registered. Pwede po ba gamitin sales inventory gamit ko business?
Sales inventory ang building?
Gamitin sales inventory gamit ko business. May continuation pa, ma'am. Since general merchandise po business ko at sales invoice lang, resibo ko.
Dapat magpagawa po kayo ng official receipt kasi ang line of business ng rental is considered services yan. Ang gagamitin mong resibo, official receipt. So magpagawa po kayo. At saka hindi lang yun. Yung COR mo na original, ibalik mo din yun sa BIR, ipa-update mo, palagyan mo ng other activity na lessor, no? Lessor of real property, no? So, hindi yung pwede yung sales invoice. Para lang yan sa sale of goods. Ang rental, considered po siya as services. Mag-update kayo lahat, COR at saka resibo.
Wala na po, ma'am. Shoutout
At saka para sa akin advice ko rin, maganda rin na magpagawa din kayo ng separate na books of accounts para sa rental nyo. Para hindi siya isasama doon sa isang business mo na merchandising. Sige.
Wala na po, ma'am, tanong. Shoutout lang po, ma'am, kay Ma'am Josie Tindo Bambao.
Ano?
Josie Tindo.
Okay, so
Bambao.
Ma'am Josie
Tindo Bambao.
Si Josie. Sige.
Josie.
Shout out po kay Ma'am Josie and thank you for watching. Wala siyang question?
Wala po, ma'am. Good evening lang daw po, ma'am.
Okay. So good evening po and thank you for watching. So sa mga natin, sa mga video.
Sa mga video.
Oo, tumingin ka dyan kasi baka marami na naman yan. Lalo na yung sa bookkeeping natin na tutorial, no? Yung kanina yung meron tayo diyang tutorial on how to record books of accounts, no? For the VAT taxpayer. Tingnan nyo po. Kasi nandyan yan video natin at saka parang tutorial on how to fill up at saka mag-post sa VAT. Okay.
Ito, ma'am, sa video po na related party disclosure. Sa BIR Form 1709.
Oh.
Ang nagtanong po is si Ma'am Jonaline de Guzman.
Okay.
Sabi niya po, for the part 2A, yung foreign related party transaction po.
Okay.
Do we need to register the foreign company to have TIN?
Kung yung foreign mo is hindi siya registered dito sa Pilipinas, hindi naman po. Yung TIN na lang niya na nandoon sa kanya. Yun ang ilagay mo dyan, no? Pero yung kailan mo pa siya i-register dito sa Pilipinas, hindi na. I-disclose mo lang, no? Disclosure lang yan. Kasi para siya magkaroon ng registration or TIN dito sa Pilipinas, dapat nagbi-business siya dito sa Pilipinas o meron siyang commercial presence dito. Wala naman, i-disclose mo lang. So yung TIN na lang niya ang gamitin mo, no? Meron naman yung TIN siya kung saan man siya naka-register, no? Kung saang bansa. Okay?
So, ma'am, sa video po na Guide in Filing BIR Form 1701A.
Okay.
Nagtanong po si Ras Manalo.
Okay.
Paano po pala kapag may mali ka sa filing, like nakalimutan ilagay yung summary ng salary mo?
Oh.
What should I do next to correct it? Thank you.
Mag-amend ka. I-amend mo yon and then i-correct mo na, ayusin mo na siya. i-correct mo na yung pag-compute. Dapat maayos na sa amended. Anong gagawin mo? Mag-file ka ulit ng return na inayos mo na siya. I-attach mo yung mali na return. And then, patatakan mo yun sa BIR. No? Wala namang babayaran yan. Kasi inamend mo na lang siya. Meron ka ng previous na file. No? Sabihin mo, inamend mo lang kasi inayos mo lang yung mali. Sige.
Ito ma'am, sa video po na how to avail estate tax amnesty.
Okay.
Ang nagtanong po is si Nardina Estrella.
Okay.
If some of the children who inherited the land have had sold already, who pays for estate tax?
Nabenta na nila? Yung property?
Opo, had sold already.
So, karamihan po niyan, yung nakabenta na, karamihan talaga ha, yung nakabenta na ang nagbabayad. Why? Kasi siya na nakikinabang nasa posisyon na niya yung property. Pero kung titingnan mo sa statutory, kung sino yung may statutory obligation, ibig sabihin, sa batas, sino talaga yung may obligation? Yung nagbenta. No? Since yung nagbenta, lalo na kung matagal na, tsaka wala ng pera yan, hindi na nila yan babayaran. So, sino na? Yung mapiprejudice, pagka hindi binayaran yan, siyempre yung may-ari na nakasalukuyan. So, anong karamihan na ginagawa? At saka anong logic? Na yung nakikinabang ngayon, una sa kanya na yung lupa, siya ang magbabayad. Kasi part yan ng obligasyon niya, pagiging owner. Tsaka pangalawa, siya na yung nakikinabang. No? Kaya, kung hindi yan babayaran nung sino yung mapiperwisyo? Siya. So, most likely, ang magbabayad niyan, yung nakaposisyon na ngayon dyan sa property o kaya yung bumili na. Okay?
Ito ma'am, yung sa paano malaman na fake ang resibo.
Okay.
Ang nagtanong po is si Madel Insha.
Opo.
Mandatory po ba ang TIN ID bago ibigay ang official receipt sa customer?
Mandatory yan, lalo na pag VAT. No? Kasi lalo na may mga ID naman talaga ang Although, yung PhilSys natin na hold lang yan dahil sa COVID, no? Kasi yung PhilSys, kahit batang maliit, may may PhilSys number na. No? Yun na yung in lieu of all numbers, yun na yung PhilSys number. Kaso lang, na stop ang implementation dahil sa COVID.
Ito ma'am sa how to compute, file, and pay estate tax.
Okay.
Nagtanong po is si Alfredo Molo.
Okay.
Paano po kung hindi naman milyon ang pera na kukunin sa bangko? Mga 100,000 lang po. Magkano po ibabayad sa estate tax?
Kasi ngayon, para makapag-withdraw ng pera sa bangko, allowed na. Dati hindi bawal. So, anong requirement lang? Mag-withhold yung bangko. No? Magkano i-withhold ng bangko? 6%. No? Kasi 6% na yung rate ng estate tax natin. Kaya 6% yung i-withhold niya. Magbibigay ng certificate of withholding sa inyo yung bangko kung magkano yung na-withhold niya na 6%, magkano yung amount. So, kung halimbawa, 100,000 yan, multiply by 6%, yun ang i-withhold ng bangko sa inyo. Para ma-withdraw nyo yung pera.
Ito ma'am sa live po na viewers na.
Okay.
Galing po kay Ma'am Mary Jane Onal.
Okay.
Ma'am, sa SLSP, paano kung walang income pero may mga expenses? Paano daw yung relief nun?
Ano yun? Ulitin mo nga.
Sa SLSP daw po ma'am, paano kung walang income pero may mga expenses?
So, ibig sabihin, wala kang output pero meron kang input. Pwede naman yan. Ang VAT returns, mag-fill up ka ng VAT returns mo, 0 yung output kasi wala kang sales. Tapos, mag-claim ka ng purchases mo. So, ano yun? Negative ang babayaran mo. At least, yung input na nandyan sa mga purchases mo, makikarry over mo for the next month or quarter. Okay?
Next po ma'am na question kay Ma'am Bernadette Lonon.
Okay.
Tanong lang po ma'am sa OR, nag-change address siya at change lessor, kailangan ba i-change ang OR address?
Dali lang ha. Nag-change address ang nag-change lessor. O, sino ang nag-change? Ang lessor?
Ano po ma'am sa OR? Nag-change address siya at change lessor. Sabi niya ma'am, nag-change address siya at change lessor, kailangan ba i-change ang OR address?
Kung ang lessor mismo ang nag-change ha, kasi ang lessor, di ba, siya yung nagpapalis. So, siya yung mag-issue na resibo. Inag-transfer siya ng address, dapat po, baguhin din niya yung address niya. No? Para, at saka yung, more so, yung kanyang registration. So, magkasama yan. Para hindi maligaw yung address niya na nandyan sa resibo at saka dun sa actual. So, pag nag-change address, kailangan po ilipat talaga, no, sa resibo. Wag kang mag-issue ng resibo na nandito ka sa Quezon City, pero yung address ng resibo mo nasa Manila.
Sabi niya ma'am, kasi daw yung old address pa ang OR niya, pero yung COR niya, new address.
Hindi pwede po yun. Dapat nung pag nag-new address kayo, sinurrender nyo na yung resibo nyo para na, sinurrender nyo yan sa BIR. Kung marami pa, mag-request na lang kayo na tatakan ng bagong address, no? But it should be approved by the BIR bago kayo magtatak ng new address sa resibo.
Next po ma'am, galing kay Ma'am Lilian Yao.
Okay.
Opo, kailangan pa po bang mag-submit ng business permit kapag mag-change ng business type?
Hindi. Hindi po. Depende. Lalo na kung ang business type nyo is malaki talaga, magkaiba. Halimbawa, manufacturing, tapos naging restaurant ka. Magkaiba yun. So, may business permit talaga yun na bago. Pero kung merchandising lang, tapos nag-wholesaling ka, parang pareho lang yun eh. Same lang na, nag-iba lang yung way. So, hindi na kailangan ng business permit. Although sa business permit mo, sabihin mo rin na nagbago ka ng style, no? Pero pag merchandising lang to wholesaling, hindi yan masyadong stricto kasi same lang. Pero kung magkaiba na talaga yung line of business mo, yung example ko nga is restaurant ka halimbawa, tapos dati manufacturing, magkaiba yan. So, kailangan mo ng permit, no? Kasi magkaiba na talaga yung business.
Wala na po tanong madam sa...
Okay, so before tayo po proceed with our discussion sa other penal provisions under Section 274, break lang muna tayo ng 5 minutes. Grabe naman ang delay. Ang haba.
Parang ang baba, ano.
Haba. Ano siya o naghahang? Sige. May question na uli, wala na pa.
Wala pa po.
Sige, shout out.
Wala pa rin po.
Sige, let's now go to discussions on other penal provisions po na ating National Internal Revenue Code, no? Under Section 274, meron po tayong penalty for second and subsequent offenses, no? So, di ba yung first offense, whatever it is na naging violation mo, yung first offense, iba ang penalty noon. Pag second offense, mas mataas na yung penalty, no? So, in the case of reincidence, inulit mo ulit, the maximum of the penalty prescribed for the offense shall be imposed. No? Kasi reincidence, ibig sabihin, inulit mo na naman. So, ano na yung penalty mo? Maximum na for the violations na ginawa mo. No? So, yung maximum na penalty, yun yung ibibigay sa iyo. Okay? Section 275, no? Violation of other provisions of this code or rules and regulations in general, no? So ano ba yung mga violations na sa BIR, no? Na National Internal Revenue Code. Any person who violates any provision, ilan ba yung provision sa ano natin? Marami, no? Or any rule or regulation promulgated by the Department of Finance for which no specific penalty is provided by law, shall, upon conviction for its act or omission, be punished by a fine of not more than 1,000 pesos or suffer imprisonment of not more than 6 months or both. So yun yung Section 275. Ito yung minimum na 1,000 sa penalty, no? Pero meron pa rin siyang imprisonment na not more than 6 months. Section 276. No? Penalty for selling, transferring, encumbering, or any way disposing of property placed under constructive restraint. Ito na yung kanina, di ba? May penalty doon sa officer na hindi siya nag-execute ng warrant, no? Kasi yung warrant of restraint and or levy, i-restraint mo yung property ng taxpayer na hindi nakabayad, no? So, ngayon, ano ba yung restraint? Ito yung kukunin mo na yung property. No? Usually, dinadala yan doon sa opisina ng BIR. No? So, halimbawa, serve mo na yung restraint na yun, yung warrant, and then kinuha mo na yung property. So, nandoon na ngayon yung property galing sa taxpayer. So, ano nangyari? Binenta, tinransfer, or na-encumber nung officer na in charge, no? Or any taxpayer. No? So, any taxpayer whose property has been placed under constructive restraint, no? Sa taxpayer ito. Taxpayer yung nagbenta, no? Who sells, transfers, encumbers, or anyway disposes of said property or any part thereof without the knowledge and consent of the commissioner shall, upon conviction for its act or omission, be punished by a fine of not less than twice the value of the property. So, halimbawa, yung value ng property mo is 1 million. Binenta mo yon dahil ayaw mo ma-restraint or ma-foreclose, kuhanin ng BIR, so binenta mo. So, anong penalty mo? Double the amount. So, 2 million. No? Kung 1 million yung property mo, ang penalty mo is 2 million. Twice the value of the property so sold, encumbered or disposed of, but not less than 5,000, or suffer imprisonment of not less than 2 years and 1 day, but not more than 4 years or both. Bakit 5,000 ito, no? So, ano na to? Obsolete, no? Section 277. Failure to surrender property placed under restraint and levy, no? So, sa bagay ito pala, not less than 5,000, yan yung pinaka-minimum, no? So, yun ang pinaka-minimum na sinasabi. So, Section 277, failure to surrender property placed under restraint and levy. Any person having in his possession or under his control any property or right to property upon which a warrant of constructive restraint or actual restraint and levy has been issued shall upon demand by the commissioner sa kanya yung property or any of his deputies executing such warrant surrender such property or right to property to the commissioner or any of his deputies unless such property or right is at the time of such demand subject to an attachment or execution under any judicial process. No? Any person who fails or refuses to surrender any of such property or rights shall be liable in his own person and estate to the government in a sum equal to the value of the property or rights not so surrendered but not exceeding the amount of the taxes including penalties and interest for the collection of which such warrant had been issued together with cost and interest if any from the date of such warrant. In addition, such person shall upon conviction for its act or omission be punished by a fine of not less than 5,000. So fine ito of not less than 5,000 or suffer imprisonment of not less than 6 months and 1 day but not more than 2 years or both. No? So yun yung penalty pagka hindi mo sinurrender yung property na under restraint and levy na. Okay? Wala pang question?
Meron na po.
Oh, sige. Sige, bago tayo punta sa section 278, sagutin muna natin yan.
Ang nagtanong po ma'am is si Jess Kotara.
Okay, so shout out Jess Kotara. Thank you for watching.
Apo, ang tanong niya po is ma'am, ask ko lang po sana kung ano-ano po ang i-file sa BIR pag VAT registered po. Sole proprietor, bukod sa income tax 1701Q. Percentage tax lang po kasi alam ko na filing.
Pero VAT na siya.
Apo, VAT daw po.
Okay. Pag VAT po kayo, meron na kayong babayaran na monthly na VAT. Magkano yung monthly na VAT? No? 12% na output less 12% na input equals VAT payable. Yun ang magiging babayaran nyo, no? Yung 12% na VAT. Pero, meron siyang benefit ng input na anuhin mo. Ibawas mo doon sa VAT payable mo. And then, ang frequency of filing niyan is monthly, no? And quarterly. So, first 2 months in a quarter, ang ipa-file mo is 2550 M. Ibig sabihin monthly. Pagdating na ng third month in a quarter, halimbawa January, February, March, isang quarter yan. Yung January and February, ang ipa-file mo doon is monthly, 2550 M. No? Pagdating na ng March, yun na yung third month in a quarter, ang i-file mo dyan quarterly. No? So, file mo, i-declare mo yung for the month of March plus yung 2 months ng January at saka February. So, whatever amount due and payable, ibawas mo yung VAT paid mo nung February at saka January. No? So, walang nawawala dun sa payment mo. Ang ibig sabihin lang, pagdating na ng quarterly na mag-file ka, consolidated or aggregate na siya, ang total niya kasama na yung January at saka February. And also, isama mo rin yung payment ng January and February. Isama mo kasi ibawas mo siya doon sa VAT payable mo sa BIR. No? Okay. Grabe ka delay. Yung ating... Ha?
Delay nga po.
Naghahang, no? Grabe, hindi na 10 minutes. 20 minutes na. O sige, go.
Apo. Ang next po ma'am na nag-question is si Josie Tindo Bambao. Apo. Ma'am, tanong ko lang, may client ako, ang business niya, vegetable dealer. ang nakalagay na business activities niya, income tax at percentage. Bakit may percentage? Pero nakita ko sa business name niya nakalagay, sari-sari store. Hindi kaya doon binasehan?
Ay, oo naman. Oo naman. Tingnan mo, kasi ang business name mo, sari-sari store. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang gulay yung binibenta mo, sari-sari. So, yung iba talaga dun, subject to percentage tax or VAT pag umabot na ng 3 million. No? Palitan nyo yung yung pangalan. No? Lagay nyo dyan, vegetable dealer. No? Huwag sari-sari store kasi disputable yan eh. Subject kayo dyan sa tax ng percentage or VAT. No?
Next question po ma'am galing kay Epel Santos.
Okay.
What are the books to register kapag VAT registered and merchandising business?
Ayun, yung anim po, standard yun ha. We have the cash receipt, cash disbursement, we have the journal, the ledger, and we also have the subsidiary sales purchase book and subsidiary sales book. No? So, anim. Anim po yan. So, yun na yung pinaka-standard pag VAT registered ka. No? Although mayroon ka pang special books of accounts, yung book of inventory, pero hindi naman mahigpit yung BIR, hindi na nila hinahanap, no? Yung book of inventory. Pero if you try to visit the revenue regulations, BIDAS 1, requirement pa yan, kailangan pa yan. At saka yung mga special books for contractors, special books for the machine shops, no? Special book for the hotel and motel, no? Yung mga guest register book nila. Those are special books of accounts. Meron pa yung special books for representation, special books for senior citizens and person with disability na discount, no? Yun lahat yan, special books of accounts yan. Okay?
Next question ma'am, galing po ulit kay Ma'am Josie Tindo.
Okay.
Ma'am, may tanong pa daw siya. Minsan ang VAT client ko may pagkakataon na mas malaki ang purchases niya kaysa sales.
Pwede.
Paano daw po ang treatment?
Okay naman po yun. Sundan nyo na lang yung proper reporting. Pero ang magiging consequence mo dyan, since marami kang purchases, kunti lang yung sales mo, be sure na marami kang inventory. Kasi mamaya na wala kang inventory, pero ang dami mong purchases, saan punta yung purchases mo? Naglaho kasi hindi mo naman nabenta. No? Kasi kakaunti lang. Yan yung magiging affected na account pagka ganyan ang scheme mo. No? Ibig sabihin, konti lang yung benta mo, malaki yung purchases mo, so marami kang inventory. No? So, kung halimbawa wala kang inventory, saan napunta yung purchases mo? Might as well fictitious lang yung purchases mo. That will be disallowed. Kailangan, yung mga sobra na purchases mo, hindi mo siya nabenta, nandun ang bagsak noon sa inventory. No? At i-report mo din yan sa BIR. At kailan yung deadline yan? January. No? End of January 30 of the following year. No? Kasi yun yung inventory end mo as of December 31, 2020. No? So yung list of inventory na yan, mandatory yan, isubmit mo sa BIR for the month of December. Ang deadline niya ng submission is January 30. No? So ano yun? Yan na yung bigingin ng inventory mo for the year 2021.
Next po ma'am na question galing kay Coffee Brew.
Coffee Brew. Di ba dati na yan siya sa atin, no?
Question na rin po siya
sige.
dati.
So, shout out din sa kay Coffee Brew.
Ano pong penalty sa ganong nag-i-issue ng resibo na ang address ay nasa Quezon City pero sa probinsya nag-ooperate?
So doon siya papatak sa minimum violations na 1,000, no? Pero ang count niyan, ang one offense mo diyan, isang pirasong resibo, that is one offense. So kung marami yan, bawa isang booklet na yan, 50, 50,000 yan. Yan ang computation. Kasi considered kasi na ang isang resibo, isang violation yan.
Next po ma'am, galing kay Ma'am Josie Tindo.
Okay.
Ma'am, tama ba na compromise lang ang babayaran sa 1701Q that was late in filing, no tax paid because it didn't reach yet the 250,000.
Okay, tama po na ano lang, compromise penalty lang, late filing kasi wala kang tax due. So, walang basic tax na babayaran mo. Ang babayaran mo, late filing lang. No? At karamihan yan, 1,000. Yung iba naman, depende sa gross.
Wala na pong tanong, madam.
Okay. So, diretso tayo sa sa discussions natin on other offenses, no? So, under section 278, nakalagay po dito the procuring unlawful divulgence of trade secrets. Ano naman to? Pinoprocure nyo. So, any person who causes or procures an officer or employee of the Bureau of Internal Revenue to divulge any confidential information regarding the business, income, or inheritance of any taxpayer, knowledge of which was acquired by him in the discharge of his official duties and which it is unlawful for him to reveal, and any person who publishes or prints in any manner whatever not provided by law, any income, profit, loss, or expenditure appearing in any income tax return shall be punished by a fine of not more than 2,000 pesos or suffer imprisonment of not less than 6 months nor more than 5 years or both. Ang haba naman ito, 6 months to 5 years. No? Okay. So, yun yung, ito naman nag-procure ng mga trade secrets. No? Sometimes, sino ito? Yung mga competitor mo sa business. No? Gusto nilang malaman yung mga sikreto mo para magaya nila and then competitor mo na sila. Okay, so section 279. Confiscation and forfeiture of the proceeds or instruments of crime, no? So ito kinonfiscate naman. In addition to the penalty imposed for the violation of these provisions, Title 10 of this code, the same shall carry with it the confiscation and forfeiture in favor of the government of the needs of the crime or value of the goods and the instruments or tools with which the crime was committed. Provided, however, that if in the course of the proceedings it is established that the instruments or tools, used in the illicit act belong to a third person, the same shall be confiscated and forfeited after due notice and hearing in a separate proceeding in favor of the government if such third person leased, let, chartered, or otherwise entrusted the same to the offender. No? Entrust sa kanya. Provided further that in case the lessee, subleased, or the borrower, charter, or the trustee allowed the use of the instruments or tools to the offender, such instruments or tools shall likewise be confiscated and forfeited. No? So, ipo-forfeit yung instrument at saka yung mga tools. Provided finally that property of common carriers shall not be subject to forfeiture when used in the transaction of their business as such common carrier, unless the owner or operator of said common carrier was at the time of the illegal act a consenting party or private thereto, without prejudice to the owner's right of recovery against the offender in a civil or criminal action. Articles which are not subject of lawful commerce shall be destroyed. Okay, so yun yung confiscation and forfeiture of the proceeds or instruments of crime. Section 280, subsidiary penalty. If the person convicted for violation of any of the provision of this code has no property, no, wala siyang property, with which to meet the fine imposed upon him by the court, or is unable to pay such fine, he shall be subject to a subsidiary personal liability at the rate of 1 day for its 8 pesos and 50 centavos. So, yung 8 pesos and 50 centavos, um, isang araw, no? Isang araw niyang kulong, no? Subject to the rules established in Article 39 of the Revised Penal Code. So, subsidiary penalty, pag hindi mo siya nabayaran, kulong mo na lang, no? So, ang equivalent niyan, isang araw na kulong, 8.50. 8 pesos and 50 centavos. Section 281, prescription for violation of any provision of this code. So, lahat daw ng violations ang provision of this code shall prescribe after 5 years. No? So, 5 years. Prescription shall begin to run from the day of the commission of the violation of the law, and if the same be not known at the time from the discovery thereof and the institution of judicial proceedings for its investigation and punishment. No? Okay, so 5 years, no, bago siya mag-prescribe. The prescription shall be interrupted when proceedings are instituted against the guilty person and shall begin to run again if the proceedings are dismissed for reasons not constituting jeopardy. No? So, yun yung prescription ng violations. The term of prescription shall not run when the offender is absent from the Philippines. No? Kasi yung iba, nakakomit ng crime, aalis ng Pilipinas. No? So, ibig sabihin, hindi magpiprescribe yung kaso niya kung wala siya sa Pilipinas. Hindi mag-a-apply yung 5 years na prescription period. No? Anong ibig sabihin ng prescription? Wala nang karapatan yung gobyerno na habulin pa yung isang tao na nakagawa ng violation sa batas. No? So, Section 282, informers reward to persons instrumental in the discovery of violations of the National Internal Revenue Code and in the discovery and seizure of smuggled goods. No? So, ito yung sa informers rewards. No? Ngayon, pati informers, ngayon may accreditation na rin sa BIR. Pag informer ka, dapat accredited ka rin. Excuse me. Okay. So, letter A, for violation of the National Internal Revenue Code, any person, except as internal revenue official or employee, or other public official or employee, or his relative within the 6th degree of consanguinity, who voluntarily gives definite and sworn information not yet in the possession of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, leading to the discovery of frauds upon the internal revenue laws or violations of any of the provisions thereof, thereby resulting in the recovery of revenues, surcharges and fees, and or the conviction of the guilty party, and or the imposition of any of the fine or penalty shall be rewarded in the sum equivalent to 10% of the revenues, surcharges or fees recovered and or fine or penalty imposed and collected, or 1 million per case. No? So, yan ang reward dun sa mga informer. 1 million per case. Whichever is lower. No? Kasi hindi yan magbabayad ng 1 million kung yung nakolekta naman ng gobyerno maliit lang. The same amount of reward shall also be given to an informer where the offender has offered to compromise the violation of law committed by him and his offer has been accepted by the commissioner and collected from the offender. Provided that should no revenues or charges or fees be actually recovered or collected, such person shall not be entitled to a reward. Provided further that the information mentioned herein shall not refer to a case already pending or previously investigated or examined by the commissioner or any of his deputies, agents, or examiners or the Secretary of Finance or any of his deputies or agents, provided finally that the reward provided herein shall be paid under rules and regulations issued by the Secretary of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner. No? So yun, 1 million ang reward, no? Na ibibigay sa informer. Letter B, for discovery and seizure of smuggled goods. Ito yung mga goods, no, na hindi dumadaan sa hindi nagbabayad ng tax, no? So to encourage the public to extend full cooperation in eradicating smuggling, a cash reward equivalent to 10% of the fair market value of the smuggled and confiscated goods or 1 million per case, no, whichever is lower, shall be given to persons instrumental in the discovery and seizure of such smuggled goods. The cash rewards of informers shall be subject to income tax collected as final withholding tax at the rate of 10%. No? So the provisions of the foregoing subsection, notwithstanding all public officials, whether incumbent or retired, who acquire the information in the course of the performance of their duties during their incumbency, are prohibited from claiming informers' reward. So, yung informers' reward, bawal yun sa mga public officials. No? Kahit retired na, no? So, bawal pa rin. Okay? Meron na?
Meron po.
Sige.
Ang nagtanong po, ma'am, si Ma'am Josie Tindo po ulit.
Okay.
Apo. Ay, sorry ma'am, tapos na pala yun. Kay mga ano na pala ma'am, Ma'am Cecilia Reroma.
Sige.
Apo. Ma'am, good evening. Dalawang business line po ito. Ang main is restaurant at ang branch ay hardware.
Okay.
Apo. Sa
So, magkaiba.
2550M kasi ma'am, kailangan ko po ba magkahiwalay ang sales per business line?
Hindi. Magkasama lang. Basta lahat, kahit 10 klase pa yan ng business na subject to VAT, doon mo na sila ilagay lahat sa vatable sales. Kasama-samahin na. Pero sa books of accounts mo, hiwa-hiwalay sila. Huwag mo pong sama-samahin. Kasi later on, may tinatawag tayo na segmented financial statement. So, paano mo masegmentize yan kung pinagsama-sama mo, wala kang record? Kaya dapat, sa record mo, nakahiwa-hiwalay pa rin.
Follow up daw po ma'am, yung hardware po ba, ATC, kasama ba ito sa VAT on wholesale and retail trade?
Hindi ako kabisado, no? Kasi may schedule po yan. Ang mga nasa registration, may hawak po yan sila na mga code, no? Galing yan po yan sa NEDA, sa National Economic Development Authority natin. Hawak-hawak po yan nila doon. So, kung gusto mo magtanong, sa BIR mismo, doon ka magtanong. Kasi meron yan silang code na tinitingnan, no? So, kung ano yung mga kasama doon sa sinasabi mo na line of activity.
Next po ma'am na tanong galing kay Sir MJ Logar.
Okay.
Continuation po sa tanong ko sa list ng property. Paano po yung VAT registered po ako kung ang list ng property ko less than 3 million? Kung percentage tax lang, magpa-file po ba ako ng separate return?
Hindi na. Once registered ka na VAT, aabot ka man ng 3 million o hindi, VAT na talaga. So, VAT yung ipa-file mo. Hindi ka na allowed to file the percentage tax. No? So, wag mo nang isipin yung percentage tax pag ikaw ay VAT registered taxpayer. Sige.
Ito ma'am, galing po kay Ma'am Bernadette Lonon.
Okay.
Follow up po ma'am sa tanong sa Bridge Engineering Services.
Okay po.
Ilang books ang ire-register niya? VAT daw po.
So, VAT, 6 po na libro. So, doon kaya pa rin tayo balik sa standard, no? Kasi ang manual books of accounts natin, standard yan eh, no? So, pag VAT ka, 6 yung libro mo, meron kang cash receipt, cash disbursement, journal, ledger, subsidiary sales book, subsidiary purchase book. Okay.
Wala na pong tanong.
Excuse lang kasi ano sa Maalikabok. Ramdam ko yung alikabok.
May karugtong pa pala, ma'am, yung
Sige.
chat ni Ma'am Bernadette Lonon.
Sige.
Sales book at disbursement book lang sana ang bibilhin niya. Bibilhin ko.
Sales book at saka disbursement book, hindi. Kung VAT registered ka, hindi po pwede. No? Mahirapan ka kasi magpa-file ka ng VAT returns. Yung pag-file mo ng VAT returns, doon yan manggagaling sa subsidiary sales book mo at saka subsidiary purchase book. No? So, mahirapan ka pagka dalawang libro lang yung ginamit.
Wala na pong tanong sa live, ma'am.
Okay. So, tuloy muna tayo, ha. Ayoko na kasing itat sana itong disposition and allotment of national internal revenue taxes natin, no. But I feel na dapat din to natin na i-discuss kasi dapat malaman din, no, ng mga taxpayers saan ba napupunta yung tax na binabawas natin. Kasi sasabihin nila, napupunta lang naman yan sa bulsa ng kung sino-sino, no. But mind you, 80% ng ginagastos po ng gobyerno natin galing po sa tax na kinokolekta po ng BIR, no? Kaya masasabi ko, pag walang BIR, walang bansa, no? Kasi bakit? Yung pinakamalaki na contribution sa ginagastos ng gobyerno natin, BIR ang kumukolekta, no? Yung ibang maraming mga agencies, just like customs, mga iba pang income generating agencies natin, 20% lang yung kanila, 80%, no, yung sa BIR. Kaya napaka-importante niya sa development ng isang bansa, no? So nasaan yung ating mga taxes, saan yan napupunta, no? So under section 283, disposition of national internal revenue. No? So, the moment na yung ating tax, saan ba yan natin binabayad? Sa bangko. From the bank, nire-remit yan ng bangko sa National Treasury natin. No? From the National Treasury, i-disburse yan ng Department of Budget and Management under the Office of the President. No? So, saan na pupunta yung ating mga taxes na binabayaran? National internal revenue collected and not applied as herein above provided or otherwise specially disposed of by law shall accrue to the National Treasury. Saan na pupunta yan? Sa National Treasury. And shall be available for general purposes of the government with the exception of the amounts set apart by way of allotment as provided for under Republic Act number 7160, otherwise known as the Local Government Code of 1997. Kasi under Republic Act 7160, may share yung local government doon sa taxes na kolekta ng national government, no? So yung local, may share yan sila kung magkano yung nakolekta ng BAR dyan sa local government na yan, no? So pumupunta yan sa kanila. In addition to the internal revenue allotment as provided for in the preceding paragraph, 50% of the national taxes collected under Section 106, 108, and 116 of this code in excess of the increase in collections for the immediately preceding year shall be distributed as follows. 20% shall accrue to the city or municipality where such taxes are collected and shall be allocated in accordance with Section 150 of Republic Act number 7160. Ito yung Local Government Code, no, of 1991. And also 80% shall accrue to the national government. No? So, ang laki talaga ng pupunta sa national government natin. Section 284, allotment for the Commission on Audit. So, sa kanila yan ang pupunta. 1/2 of 1% of the collections from the national internal revenue taxes not otherwise accruing to special accounts in the general fund of the national government shall accrue to the Commission on Audit as a fee for auditing services rendered to local government units, excluding maintenance, equipment, and other operating expenses as provided for in Section 21 of Presidential Decree number 898. So yun yung allotment natin for the COA or Commission on Audit. The Secretary of Finance is hereby authorized to deduct from the monthly internal tax collections an amount equivalent to the percentage as herein fixed and to remit the same directly to the Commission on Audit, such rules and regulations as may be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance and the Chairman of the Commission on Audit. So mayroong allotment para sa Commission on Audit, and how much is that? 1/2 of 1% ng collection. No? Magkano yung collection ngayon ng national government? Trillion na ha? 2 to 3 trillion. Hindi na billion. So 1/2 of 1% yan, how much? Laki-laki din. The Secretary of Finance is hereby authorized to deduct from the monthly internal revenue tax collection an amount equivalent to the percentage as herein fixed and to remit the same directly to the Commission on Audit under such rules and regulations as may be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance and the Chairman of the Commission on Audit. Section 285, allotment for the Bureau of Internal Revenue. So yung BIR, meron din share. No? An amount equivalent to 5% of the excess of actual collections of national internal revenue taxes over the collection goal shall accrue to the special fund of the BIR and shall be treated as receipts automatically appropriated. No? Said amount shall be utilized as incentive bonus for revenue officer personnel, purchase of necessary equipment and facilities for the improvement of tax administration as approved by the Commissioner, provided that the President may, upon recommendation of the Commissioner, direct that the excess be credited to a special account in the National Treasury to be held in the reserve available for distribution as incentive bonus in subsequent years. The Secretary of Finance is hereby authorized to transfer from the Treasury an amount equivalent to the percentage as herein fixed and to remit the same directly to the Bureau of Internal Revenue under such rules and regulations as may be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance. So, saan na pupunta yung ating mga taxes? Also sa BIR. Pero, ang share lang ng BIR, 5% lang sa excess kung merong sobra doon sa actual collection over goal. No? So, kasi ang BIR may goal yan. Halimbawa, ang goal ng BIR ngayon is 3 trillion. Hindi siya umabot. Wala siyang share no, na doon sa excess. Pero kung halimbawa 3 trillion yung collection ng gold ng BIR, nakakolekta siya ng 3.2. No? So doon sa 0.2, mayroon siyang 5% doon. No? So, appropriated na yan para sa BIR agad-agad. Question?
Meron po nga.
Sige. Kasi chapter 2 na tayo dito sa disposition ng taxes eh. Okay.
Apo, galing po ma'am kay Ma'am Ami Oclarit.
Sige.
Opo, good evening po ma'am. Pag mag-amend ka po ba ng VAT return, kailangan din po bang i-resubmit yung
Yes,
SLSP?
Ay, hindi. Hindi. Iba yung although yung SLSP summary list of sales and for SLSP. Okay. Kailangan mo rin yun i-amend kasi siyempre nag-amend ka nung ng VAT mo. Affected yung summary list of sales and purchases mo. So kailangan mo rin mag-amend doon. Sabay mo na sila. Kailangan, especially kung tatamaan yung summary list of sales and purchases mo. Pero kung wala siyang effect, as is lang, nagkamali ka lang sa amount, sa tax due, then hindi mo na siya kailangan. Pero kung yung amendment mo doon sa VAT returns mo has an effect doon sa summary list of sales and purchases mo, so dapat i-amend mo rin yun. Okay? Sige. Tuloy tayo no, sa chapter 2. on the special disposition of certain national internal revenue taxes. Section 286, disposition of proceeds of insurance premium tax. No? So, magkano yung disposition ng insurance premium tax? Kung mapapansin po ninyo, yung ating insurance commission, isang district lang sa Manila, doon lang yan sila nagre-remit, nandoon yan, na centralize yung kanilang registration ng insurance companies. No? So 25% of the premium tax collected under Section 123 of this code shall accrue to the insurance fund, as contemplated in Section 418 of Presidential Decree number 612, which shall be used for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the insurance commission. So saan na pupunta yung tax na premium tax na kinokolekta? 25% na yan, binabalik sa insurance commission. The commissioner shall turn over and deliver the said insurance fund to the insurance commissioner as soon as the collection is made. No? So, tino-turn over yan sa kanila. Ito naman yung Section 287. Ito yung shares ng local government units in the proceeds from the development and utilization of the national wealth. No? So, local government units shall have an equitable share in the proceeds derived from the utilization and development of the national wealth within the respective areas, including sharing the same with the inhabitants by way of direct benefits. No? So letter A, amount of share of local government units. Local government units shall, in addition to the internal revenue allotment or yung IRA, have a share of 40%, no? 40% ng gross collection derived by the national government from the preceding fiscal year from excise taxes on mineral products, royalties and such other taxes, fees or charges, including related surcharges, interest or fines, and from its share in any co-production, joint venture or production sharing agreement in the utilization and development of the national wealth within their territorial jurisdiction. So magkano yung share ng local government? 40%. No? So ano yun? Sino magbabayad nun? Yung mga companies na deals with the excise taxes, halimbawa ng mineral products, merong royalties, no? So co-production, joint venture, product sharing agreement. No? So kasama po yan. 40% ang share dyan ang local government. Letter B, share of the local government from any government agency or government-owned or controlled corporation. No? So, local government unit shall have a share based on the preceding fiscal year from the proceeds derived by any government agency or government-owned or controlled corporation engaged in the utilization and development of the national wealth based on the following formula, whichever will produce a higher share for the local government unit. No? So, ito naman yung sa government-owned or controlled corporation. No? Ano yung share niya dito? Based on the preceding fiscal year from the proceeds derived by government agency or government-owned or controlled corporation engaged in the utilization and development of national wealth. Ito yung share, no? 1% of the gross sales or receipts of the preceding calendar year, or 40% of the excise taxes on mineral products, royalties and such other taxes, fees or charges, including related surcharges, interest or fines, the government agency or government-owned or controlled corporations would have paid if it were not otherwise exempt. No? So 40% po yung share ng local government. Pagdating na sa share ng local government, saan paano pupunta yung share naman niya? The share of the preceding section shall be distributed in the following manner. Number 1, where the natural resources are located in the province. No? A, province 20%, component city or municipality 45%, and barangay 35%. No? So So, yan yung sharing doon sa nakuha nila na share. Okay. Provided, however, that where the natural resources are located in 2 or more provinces, no? Or in 2 or more component cities or municipalities, or in 2 or more barangays, the respective share shall be computed on the basis of number 1, population, 70%, and land area, 30%. So, yun naman yung basis na yung barangay, no? Source. Where the natural resources are located in a highly urbanized or independent component or city. A, city, 65%, no? Letter B, barangay, 35%. Okay. So, yun yung sharing. Provided, however, that where the natural resources are located in 2 or more cities, the allocation of shares shall be based on the formula on population and land area as specified in subsection C1 hereof. No? So, okay, so yun yung sharing sa natural resources, 65 and 35. No? Yeah. Section 288, disposition of incremental revenues. No? An incremental revenues from Republic Act number 7660, the incremental revenues from the increase in the documentary stamp taxes under Republic Act number 7660 shall be set aside for the following purposes. Number 1, in 1994 and 1995, 25% thereof respectively shall accrue to the Unified Home Lending Program under Executive Order number 90, particularly for mass socialized housing program to be allocated as follows. 50% for mass socialized housing, 30% for the community mortgage, and 20% for land banking and development to be administered by the National Housing Authority, no? Provided that not more than 1% of the respective allocations thereof shall be used for administrative purposes. No? So, yun yung limitations niya. Yung 1% allocation, yun yung gagamitin sa administrative expenses. No, 1% lang. In 1996, 25% thereof to be utilized for the National Health Insurance Program that hereafter may be mandated by law. No? So in 1994 and every year thereafter, 25% thereof shall accrue to a special education fund to be administered by the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports for the construction and repair of school facilities, training of teachers, and procurement or production of instructional materials and teaching aids. Yun naman yung mapupunta sa Department of Education. No? So, 25%. Number 4. In 1994 and every year thereafter, 50% thereof shall accrue to Special Infrastructure Fund for the construction and repair of roads, bridges, of 50% sa infrastructure, dams and irrigation, seaports, and hydroelectric and other indigenous power projects. Excuse me. Provided, however, that for the years 1994 and 1995, 30%, and for the years 1996, 1997, and 1998, 20% of this fund shall be allowed for depressed provinces as declared by the President as of the time of the effectivity of RA number 7660, provided further that availment under this fund shall be determined by the President on the basis of equity. So, depende. Provided finally that in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 of this section, not more than 1% of the allocated funds thereof shall be used for administrative expenses by the implementing agencies. So, 1% lang. No? Note, subsection B and C of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended was repealed by Section 15 of RA number 11346. Ano naman itong mga incremental revenues, no? Incremental revenues from Republic Act number 8240, 15% of the incremental revenue collected from the excise tax on tobacco products and under Republic Act number 8240 shall be allocated and divided among the provinces producing barley and native tobacco in accordance with the volume of tobacco leaf production. The fund shall be exclusively utilized for programs to promote economically viable alternatives for tobacco farmers and workers, such as, number one, programs that will provide inputs, training, and other support for tobacco farmers who shift the production of agricultural products other than tobacco, including but not limited to high-value crops, spices, rice, corn, sugarcane, coconut, livestock, and fisheries. No? So, yan yung incremental revenue na 15%. Yan ang pupunta. Programs that will provide financial support for tobacco farmers who are displaced or who cease to produce tobacco. Number three, cooperative programs to assist tobacco farmers in planting alternative crops or implementing other livelihood projects. Number four, livelihood programs and projects that will promote, enhance, and develop the tourism potential of tobacco growing provinces. Infrastructure projects such as farm-to-market roads, schools, hospitals, and rural health facilities. And number six, agro-industrial projects that will enable tobacco farmers to be involved in the management and subsequent ownership of projects such as post-harvest and secondary processing like cigarette manufacturing and byproducts utilization. Okay. Sige. The Department of Budget and Management, in consultation with the Department of Agriculture, shall issue rules and regulations governing the allocation and disbursement of this fund not later than 180 days from the effectivity of this act. No? Incremental revenues from the excise tax on alcohol and tobacco products. After deducting the allocations under Republic Act number 7171 and 8240, 80% of the remaining balance of the incremental revenue derived from this act shall be allocated for the universal health care. No? So dito naman mapunta. Under the National Health Insurance Program, the availment of the Millennium Development Goals and health awareness programs and 20% shall be allocated nationwide based on political and strict supervisions for medical assistance and health enhancement facilities program, the annual requirements of which shall be determined by the Department of Health. No? So, yan ang revenue from the excise tax on alcohol and tobacco products. Letter D, incremental revenue from the value-added tax. No, sa VAT naman to. 50% of the local government unit share from the incremental revenue from the value-added tax shall be allocated and used exclusively for the following purposes. Number one, 15% for public elementary and secondary education to finance the construction of building, purchases of school furniture, and in-service teacher trainings. Number two, 10% for health insurance premiums of enrolled indigents as a counterpart contribution of the local government to sustain the universal coverage of the National Health Insurance Program. Number three, 15% for environmental conservation to fully implement a comprehensive national reforestation program. And number four, 10% for agricultural modernization to finance the construction of farm-to-market roads and irrigation facilities. Such allocation shall be segregated as a separate trust fund by the National Treasury and shall be over and above the annual appropriation for similar funds. Okay, so letter E, the amount of 15 million shall be allowed for a public information and education program to be administered by the BAR, explaining clearly to businesses the registration, invoicing, and reporting requirements under the value-added tax rules. Such program should include seminars and visits to taxpayers to familiarize them with the tax and the development and publication of easy-to-read guides on the value-added tax. No? So, 15 million saan siya napunta? Sa Public Information and Education Program. Letter F, incremental revenues from the tax reform for acceleration and inclusion or train. So for 5 years from the effectivity of this act, the yearly incremental revenues guaranteed generated shall be automatically appropriated as follows. Number 1, no more than 70% to fund infrastructure projects such as but not limited to the build program and provide infrastructure programs to address congestion through mass transport and new road networks, military infrastructure, sport facilities for public schools, and potable drinking water supply in all public places, and not more than 30% to fund. No? Ano yung ipafund niya? Letter A, programs under Republic Act number 10659, otherwise known as Sugarcane Industry Development Act of 2015. No? To advance the self-reliance of sugar farmers that will increase productivity, provide livelihood opportunities, develop alternative farming systems, and ultimately enhance farmers' income. Letter B, social mitigating measure and investment. Number 1, education. Number 2, health, targeted nutrition, and anti-hunger programs for mothers, infants, and young children. And then social protection, employment, and housing that prioritize the directly benefit both the poor and the near poor households. Letter C, a social welfare and benefits program where qualified beneficiaries shall be provided with a social benefits card to avail of the following social benefits. So, dapat may card, no? Social benefits card. Ito yung sa US na yung second stimulus nila, no? So, number 1, unconditional cash transfer households in the first to 7 months deciles of the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction. No? Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program and the Social Pension Program for a period of 3 years from the effectivity of this act, provided that the unconditional cash transfer shall be 200 per month for the first year and 300 pesos per month for the second year and third year to be implemented by the Department of Social Welfare and Development. And then next is the fuel vouchers to qualified franchise holders of public utility jeepneys. No? Yung fuel vouchers nila. For minimum wage earners, unemployed, and the poorest, 50% of the population. Okay? So, 50% ng population, ano yun? On the fare discount from all public utility vehicles, except trucks for hire and school transport service, in the amount equivalent to 10% of the authorized fare. Number 2, discounted purchase of National Food Authority rice from accredited retail stores in the amount equivalent to 10% of the net retail prices up to maximum of 20 kilos per month. And free skill training under a program implemented by the Technical Skills Development Authority. No? Provided that benefits or grants contained in this subsection shall not be availed as addition to any other discounts. Number 4, other social benefits programs to be developed and implemented by the government. So, Notwithstanding any provision herein, in the contrary, the incremental revenues from the tobacco taxes under this Act shall be subject to Section 3 of Republic Act Number 771, otherwise known as an act to promote the development of the farmer in the Virginia tobacco producing provinces, and Section 8 of Republic Act Number 8240, otherwise known as an act amending sections 138, 139, 140, and 142 of the National Internal Revenue Code as amended, and for other purposes. No? So note, the amendment introduced by the trend law was vetoed by the President. Ito yung sa tobacco taxes. No? Okay. So, ilang oras na tayo, Hari?
1 hour and 57 minutes.
Okay. So, dito tayo sa Section 288A, no? Disposition of revenues from excise tax on sweetened beverages, bago lang to. Alcohol, tobacco products, heated tobacco products, and vapor products. A. Revenues from excise tax on sweetened beverages from Republic Act number 10963. Ito yung train law natin. The provisions of existing laws to the contrary, notwithstanding 50% of the total revenues collected from the excise tax on sweetened beverages shall be allocated and used exclusively in the following manner. No? Number one, 80% of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation for the implementation of Republic Act number 11223, otherwise known as the Universal Health Care Act of 2019, and 20% shall be allocated nationwide based on political and district subdivisions for medical assistance, the health facilities enhancement program, the annual requirement of which shall be determined by the Department of Health. No? Okay. So, 2 hours na?
59 minutes. May tanong, madam.
O, sige.
Ang nagtanong po, ma'am, is si Ma'am Josie Tindo.
Okay, so, sige.
Ma'am, ano nga pala ang requirement kapag magpa-register ng bagong books for 2021?
So ang kailangan diyan, meron kang libro, no? Yung libro mo updated yung entry, no? Yung posting. Dalhin mo yung libro mo na luma and then mo patatakan ang bago, no? Kasi ang purpose niyan, i-ascertain na hindi pa ubos yung libro mo, nagpatataka na. Kasi pag ubos na, saka pala magpatatak, may penalty.
Ito, ma'am, next question po galing kay Sir MJ Logar.
Okay.
Apo, ma'am, follow up daw po yung kanina sa question niya. Sa 2550M under vatable sales.
Yes.
Sales ng general merchandise, sales invoice.
Okay.
At rental fee,
Official receipt, correct.
ay magsasama sa private sales.
Mas magkasama sila doon sa private sales, ang total nilang dalawa. No? Kaya saan yan makikita ang breakdown nila? Sa libro mo. Kaya ang sabi ko sa inyo, pag halimbawa sinabi ng batas sa filing, aggregated, total, huwag mong i-total sila as is na wala ka ng ibang source document. Dapat diyan sa libro mo, magkahiwalay sila, doon lang sa VAT returns mo pinagsama. Okay?
Okay na, ma'am. Wala na pong tanong.
Okay, so ilang minutes na tayo?
2 hours, ma'am.
Ngayon?
Apo.
Okay, so with that, I would like to say thank you for being with us. May mga viewers pa?
Meron po. May viewers tayo, ma'am, na 15 viewers.
So sa mga viewers natin, wala na po kayong tanong. No? So I wish you all, ano ba yun?
Happy holidays.
Enjoy tayo sa holidays natin. Pero sabi ng paalala sa atin, mag-social distancing pa rin tayo. And then, we will face the 2021 na ano tayo, energetic at saka responsive, flexible, no? Wag yung, ay talagang, ano, yung parang wala ng energy. Anuhan natin yan kasi dito pa tayo eh. So we would be happy for the blessings and the gift of life na nandyan pa rin sa atin. Kasi yung iba, yung mga mayayaman, no, hindi sila nakakabili ng buhay, wala na sila. At least tayo, kahit mahirap man tayo, at least yung gift of life nandito pa sa atin. So, enjoy natin yan. At the same time, responsive tayo. No? Wala na?
Wala na po, madam.
O meron pa dyan. Oh. So, with that, thank you very much for being with us. And sa susunod natin na tawag dito, live streaming. No? So, i-continue muna natin ito kasi bakit ko kita sa inyo. Kasi wala naman ng iba na nagdi-discuss nito kung saan napupunta yung taxes eh. Basta ang dinidiscuss lang, filing, dapat alam din natin so that every time na nagbabayad tayo ng tax natin, alam natin saan yan napupunta. No? Sabi nila, itong